Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome back to the Cheeky Couch podcast. I hope you guys have been having an amazing week, whether you're watching or listening. I'm going to let you know now, this is a long Cheeky Couch episode. Last week I was having technical difficulties with my laptop. I was not able to get up Sunday's episode. So we are talking about 4 Real Housewives episodes in this Cheeky Couch episode. One of them, the final one, being the finale. So in this Cheeky Couch, we are doing episodes 4 and 5. That was last weekend's. I already recorded them last weekend. So I'm going to look a little different here in a minute. Episodes 4 and 5. And then right now I am doing episodes 6 and 7. 7 being the finale. And then we'll be done with Real Housewives of Orange County. So yeah, if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and get started. Just a reminder, you can download my Cheeky Couch episodes on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, and Spotify. I would always so appreciate a rating on Apple Podcast as well as a download. I have to reach a certain goal before I'm able to monetize and just have all of the tools that other podcasters have. And it's a really big, crazy goal to reach it. So any help that I could get, I would so appreciate on that one. Without further ado, let's get on to Real Housewives. So episode 4 of Real Housewives of Orange County is called Talk, Talk, Talk. So I'm wondering what that's about. If you remember, last week we left off Slade. I'm sorry, I don't mean to groan every time we talk about Slade, but it's almost impossible not to. Slade was really disappointed and really upset and really freaking out that Joe got a job, that his fiance Joe got a job. He was not happy. So we start out episode 4 with Joe being so excited. She says she has landed her dream job. It's at a company called Countrywide. She is so happy and so excited to finally be able to fend for herself a little bit, make her own money, have something to be proud of. Because reminder, this is a young woman. She is young. She is in her early 20s and she is stuck at home all the time. Not saying that doesn't suit some women, but for Joe, she wanted more. So she is beyond thrilled. We cut to Slade being a sleazebag as usual. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be nice to Slade. It's almost impossible. By the way, if you are watching this on YouTube and you like this makeup look, it's actually a little tutorial I did on my Instagram. You can head to Instagram, thatgirlshayxo, and check it out there. It's a little reel I did. I really like it. Anyway, so Slade is being a slime bag as usual. He has hired a new cute little assistant because he says he needs someone to pick up all of Joe's slack. Now that she is working, he doesn't have someone to pick up his dry cleaning. It's like, pick up your own dry cleaning. I bet Joe's gonna pick up her own dry cleaning. You know what I mean? This man is incapable of not having just a little machine woman following him around picking up after his messes. So anyway, he's on the golf course. He's being gross. He's just acting like such a bro. I mean, with a name like Slade, it's probably hard to avoid. And his assistant seems really, really nice and sweet, but they are making inappropriate comments to her, Slade and his friends. Slade keeps joking and saying to his new female assistant, will you pick up my balls? You know, meaning the golf balls on the golf course. For a woman, we know this as harassment, so that's always fun. Joe's then at lunch with some of her girlfriends, and she's just saying she just feels so happy. It feels so nice to feel free and just kind of be her own woman and make her own money, because Slade usually cuts her a little allowance every month, and that's all she can use to spend money on things that she wants to purchase or use. So for her, this is really, really rewarding, and you can just tell she's just beaming. She looks so empowered. She looks so happy. I am living for Joe right now. I am so happy for her. Slade is a douche. Anyway, but Joe does make a slight comment. She's not too happy about this new assistant. She says that the assistant is picking up Slade's phone calls from Joe, and Joe does not love that so much. Then Slade calls Joe while she's at the cantina with her girls, and he is pissed because the landscaper called him and gave him a $400 bill because the rabbits are eating all their flowers and they had to replant flowers. I don't own a lawn, but I bet that is probably really frustrating and infuriating. I gotta tell you real quick, can I interrupt? I have been seeing on TikTok people who are going grassless, and I'm so in. I will do this when I finally own my house, because obviously water conservation is a huge freaking crisis issue right now, and a lot of people are turning. I've seen clover leaves. I've seen all this different type of terrain that does not require water to live, and I am so on board with this. Let me know if you guys have seen this, because I am dying. I am dying. The bunnies are eating everything. Slade is pissed. Joe makes a, kind of a cheeky little comment, And we love cheeky comments here at the Cheeky Couch Podcast. Joe makes a little cheeky comment and says that she heard that there's this really hot guy who goes around the, community and takes care of the poor little bunny problem. It makes me sad to even talk about, but he goes around and takes care of the bunnies for everyone. She is referring to Shane. I'm sure you guys all remember Shane. He is the baseball player. He is Gina's son. He's the one that makes really weird comments about girls, and I don't know, I get kind of incel vibes, but he was younger here, and I don't know what he's like today. In fact, I actually think he's married now. No judgment. We all say stupid things when we're young. I don't know of his character today. Anyway, doesn't matter. So Joe's kind of hinting that she might like to hire this hot little shirtless Shane guy who goes around and takes care of the bunny problem, and yeah, so it's sounding like we're going to see that in this episode. Next, we are with Vicky and her husband, Dawn. So this scene right here is the very first scene between Vicky and Dawn where we see, and mind you, I could be taking this too heavily, couples bicker, especially when you've been together for like ever, you might have a little spat or a little bicker and it really means nothing. Like it's over in a few minutes and you're all fine. So we only see this small little window into their lives. However, as I keep kind of hinting at, Vicky and Dawn don't end well together, and it starts craziness with Vicky. If this is your first time watching The Real Housewives of Orange County, oh my gosh, get ready for the ride of your lives with Vicky and her love interests after Dawn, because it is a fucking nightmare. I'm not even kidding you. I am talking catfishing. I am talking someone faking that they have cancer. I mean, it is about to get bumpy, people. I hate to say that it's so good because it's such a horrible thing, but if you love trashy TV, like, it's really, really good. It's terrible, but it's also, like, so good. Anyway, Vicky and Dawn are in their kitchen. Vicky just returned from New Orleans. If you remember the last episode, she was there for a little insurance conference and they had a great time, but she's getting back home and she's feeling super stressed because she only has a small amount of time to pack for their little trip that they're taking as a family for the weekend. Vicky and Dawn own a second home on the Colorado River, and they go there to party and whoop it up and have a good time. And Vicky's just, you know how it is. If you have to pack for the whole family to go away for the weekend, what a nightmare. I can barely pack me and Alok. Like, it really is stressful. In fact, Alok just got back from a business trip. Alok just went to Canada. And when he got back, because this was probably the first time that I did not assist him a little bit in packing his suitcase. It's not that he ever asks me to, but I just know what he's going to forget. Because we've traveled enough that I know what he forgets. He did not have enough socks. He did not have enough just under t-shirts. Like, I think he assumes he's going to rewear everything, and it's like, then you get there and you don't want to rewear smelly airport clothes, you know what I mean? So anyway, Vicky is having a little bit of a meltdown. Dawn looks so sad here. They're kind of bickering. Dawn says, "I'm just asking for a part of your time, Vic." He calls her Vic. And Vicky's just kind of being really mean to him. And I get it. He kind of wants her to slow down and just spend some time with him. And she's like, how can I? Like, we'll spend time when we get down to the river. I got to do this, this, and this. And we see how Vicky is such, I don't want to say micromanager, but she is nothing but organized. She is functional. She's just a professional, even in just everyday life. Like, Vicky is just one of those people, very type A. So I'm sure she can't focus on anything else other than her tasks at hand. And you can see how that kind of hurts Dawn. Dawn is saying, you don't have to do all this alone, Vicky. I tell you, you have me and we have our 2 kids, and you don't have to be the one who goes to Costco and does this and does that and cooks and cleans and packs and this. Like, he's telling her, like, you have people here to help you. And I hate that this is exactly how I am. I just don't accept help. I've been better this year because it was really one of my New Year's goals. And I've been doing really well. In fact, my husband made comments that he's like, you've been like really weird lately. Like, you're really like changing, and I'm trying, because that's one of my nasty habits too. I don't like to let anyone help me, and then I'm overwhelmed, and then I'm in a rut, you know what I mean, because I took on too much. So it's sad to see this, and it's a little cringe, and it makes me a little like, oh my god. So don't do that. If any of you are listening or watching out there, let people help you. I get it. I'm the same way. I don't like to give up the reins, but we gotta try, okay? And it really will make life easier. Vicky asks him how his job prospects are going. If you remember, Dawn's Don's been out of work, unfortunately. I believe he was laid off. He was what he called a long-term employee at Home Depot. I don't know what that means, a long-term employee. I would imagine that probably means like higher up, right? I don't freaking know. But he said he's kind of looking into other prospects right now. So I'm sure him being out of work and with Vicky being so money driven, I would have to imagine that is like the root of a lot of their problems. They've kind of, I would imagine, have lost their language because Vicky's only language kind of seems to be career, work, money. Now we are with Lori. She is returning also from the New Orleans trip she took with Vicky, and she introduces us to her friend Steve. Steve is I guess I would call him a love interest, kind of. A friends with benefits thing. I don't really know their situation, but she says sometimes he really wants to be serious and she doesn't. Sometimes she really wants to be serious and he doesn't. So it's kind of one of those things. But even still, he's kind of her go-to guy to help her out with things. And I'm pretty certain Steve was the one who was with Lori when she went to visit her son in juvie. Remember, I made that comment about like, why are they sitting in the car for like 3 hours with her little daughter? I'm pretty sure it was Steve in that episode as well. So you can tell this is really like her right-hand man. They get home and Ashley, her daughter, is there. Lori's just kind of grilling her. How was it? What'd you do when I was gone? Did you have any parties? And Ashley's like, nothing big. Meanwhile, if you remember, she did have a small rager, if you will, but it didn't look too bad, but they were partying it up a bit. And then Lori says that Ashley did not go to work with Vicky on Monday. So that's bad because if we remember, Vicky was nice enough to give Ashley a job to help start earning money because Lori is supporting, all her kids basically by herself. We're back with Vicky and the family, and they are leaving for Lake Havasu in Arizona. Is that how you pronounce it? And she says it's really their home away from home. Like, they love going there. I think they go there, like, probably pretty often. In fact, over the next few seasons, we will see a lot of Vicky on the river moments. She loves that river. Vicky's son and Don's stepson Mike is coming along with a few of his friends. Her daughter can't make it. She has to work, and the boys are packing up the car with all the essentials, and it's basically all Corona. Like, literally, it's all Coronas and like a few hamburger buns. And so, yeah, they're packing up to have a really good time, even though Vicky and Don don't even have any of their food or like supplies in the car yet, and so everyone starts to really stress out. Once Don sees the back of the car all packed up with just alcohol and nothing they need in it, he goes full angry dad mode, and he's mad that no one in here knows how to pack a car sufficiently. So and it does look kind of like a mess, but anyway, they are getting ready to leave for the lake. Now we're with Kimberly and her husband. Kimberly is back from her girls' trip to Palm Springs. This was like my first major beef with these episodes. Kimberly and her friends in Palm Springs. If you haven't seen or listened to that episode of Cheeky Couch, or if you haven't seen that episode of Real Housewives of Orange County in general, I'm going to tell you to watch it, but just be prepared for the cringe. These women were absolutely horrible. They were horrible. The way they talk about other people, they're racist, they're ableist, they're awful. It's so far on this journey of what will be a lot of horrible housewives moments. That was the first really, really bad one. It was just disgusting. It was hard to watch, really. But I do recommend you go and watch it just so you can kind of get a taste for how terrible it is, or see if there's a short clip on YouTube about it. But anyway, so now she's back. She's at dinner with her husband, and she's saying like, yeah, it got crazy. We had a good time. There was a guy who said, I'll do anything to go home with you tonight. And her husband are just like loving it. He kind of like loves it. I'm not judging. I don't kink shame. They have young children, but I really wonder about their lives behind closed doors, because I just get a vibe. The way that he's very excited about how many men were attracted to her and about her dancing with other men, he is like really excited by it. So I'm like, And then Kimberly says she thinks she was propositioned by a quote-unquote gigolo, a sex worker, and she was like, I don't know, I just couldn't tell. I've never been in that situation before. So she asked her husband, like, how does that work? And he's like, well, this is how it works. Like, he gets straight into it. Now Kimberly and her husband are meeting up with Gina because they are selling their house. They want a bigger house. If you remember, they just upgraded their car. Now they're going new house shopping. So kudos to them. That's exciting stuff. And they've chosen Gina to be their realtor. So she's going to show them around some open properties for sale. And this is exciting because I believe this is finally the start of the housewives interacting together. So far, we've only really had, I think, Kimberly and Joe have met. at that weird little fake little meeting at the restaurant, at the cantina. And now we finally have Gina and Kimberly meeting. And then I believe Gina's going to invite most of the girls to her house for some type of event, some celebration of some sort. So we are finally going to start getting into the housewives interacting. If you remember, this is the very first season, very first franchise of any of the Real Housewives. This is the beginning. And like I said in the first episode, it was all inspired by Gina and her family. So whereas new seasons of Housewives, the Housewives kind of like get right into it. They kind of just start, even episode 1, episode 2, they're all together on a girls trip, basically. They're like, oh, I gotta get away. Me too. Oh, I have a friend who wants to go away too. Okay, great. Let's go to Mexico. Like, that's what they do on the new seasons. But this being the very first one, I wonder if they even ever planned the Housewives to interact much at all, or if they're going to keep everybody separate. I don't know, but finally we're getting to the Housewives getting together as a group. We're getting some good group moments. So Gina shows them 2 houses. They are both way out of budget. I don't know anything about realty. Is this what you do? I'm thankful our realtors haven't done this to us yet, but they only wanted to spend about $2.5 million on a house, and Gina has taken them to all $3 million and $4 million properties. So I'm just kind of like, okay, I mean, if you only have 2 million, you only have 2 million. I mean, to say you only have 2 million, you know what I mean. I mean, that's a lot of money, but you know what I mean. If you have 2 million, you don't have 4 million, right? So I don't know if she was truly trying to sell them on a house here. I actually just think this was their way of doing a meet cute for the cast and giving Gina the opportunity to invite them over, which she does. When they're leaving one of the houses, she says, this weekend I'm having a barbecue for friends, family, and clients. You're welcome to come by. So yes, this is where we're going to get a little more Housewives melding in the show. A lot of the cast coming together, which I'm super excited for. We're back at Gina's house and we're with her son Shane and his friend. They're playing basketball. Again, there is this weird emphasis on Shane's sex life right now. They open with Shane talking once again about how he's a virgin. He's not into the whole sex thing, he says. He doesn't need a girlfriend, and his friend he's playing ball with is really pressuring him to, like, get a girl. And he's like, you didn't hook up with any girls in Cabo. And Shane's like, you can't bring a girl back to your room past 11 o'clock. Which, is that a rule? I don't know. Have I been to Cabo? I don't think I've been to Cabo, but is that a rule? That seems strange to me, but regardless. The show has this weird sexual pressure on Shane. And in this instance, I feel really bad for him because it's getting to be, like, uncomfortable. Now we're with Vicky and the family. They have made it to Lake Havasu, and they are ready to party. It's Vicky and all guys, and I'm just telling you, she is thriving in this environment. She really likes this attention, even if it's her son's friends. Her son puts like too much sunscreen on her back, so Vicky's going around and like rubbing her back on her son's friends. I don't know, it's innocent. It's probably harmless, but you can tell she's really enjoying herself. They load up the boat and they head out to the lake. I guess this is what they do. They just like cruise on the lake, I guess. I don't know. We're more of shore people here in New Jersey, kind of just hang out on the shore, but they do have a lot of fun toys. They have like, you know, like the vroom vrooms in the water. They have like, what does Pam's fiance want to take to the lake over the weekend? Wave runners? Is that it in the office? Wave runners? Jet skis? Is that it? Yeah. They have jet skis, they have boogie boards, they have body boards, they have all the fun water toys, so that's pretty cool. And Don's such a good guy. He's just like driving the boat around so that the boys can like ride the toys on the end of the boat, and I'm just like, oh, Don. And then I've never seen this before other than this show. So they get to the channel of the river, and it's everybody, all these people there, like just going nuts, partying, dancing. Some women only have like pasties on, which I'm living for. Go you, live your best life. But this is a full on like insane party. I've never seen anything like this before. It looks fun, also looks dangerous. Now we're back with Lori, and Lori is actually going to the courthouse today. It sounds like her son Josh has some type of hearing. This story is so wishy-washy, and I think there's details that Lori just wasn't saying on camera because it doesn't sound legal to me. But if you remember, her son Josh was busted at school for a teacher thought he had drugs, so they called the cops, but it turned out he didn't have any drugs. And she says they took him to juvie just because he's gotten in trouble too much in the past, that they weren't going to let this one go, and they just took him in anyway. Like, that sounds completely illegal. If he didn't commit a crime, he didn't commit a crime. So I don't know why he is in juvie. Like, this just sounds so ass backwards to me. If they came to the school and he didn't have drugs, what are they holding him on? What are the charges? I don't understand. That's why I feel like something's being left out here. She's pulling up and she sees Josh's dad walking into the courthouse. He looks like a lawyer. I'm assuming he's a lawyer. We know that Kimberly lived a very affluent life before her divorce, and her husband's wearing like a suit and he's got a briefcase. Like, he looks like a lawyer. Lori makes a really sad comment. She says that her ex-husband, wants to get back into Josh's life, but it makes Lori nervous because she doesn't want Josh to get hurt anymore. I'm getting the vibe that this guy is not a good dude. You know what I mean? I mean, we've just heard things so many times again and again and again between all the kids and Lori about how just how tumultuous and toxic their marriage was. And the kids heard so many things that they shouldn't have. Like Josh, one episode talking about how like he heard glass breaking and things like that. So I don't know. This guy seems like not a good guy. And it's a shame that a mother has to be concerned with the father wanting to be in their children's life because she's worried about how much it's going to like disrupt her kids even more. That makes me so sad for everybody. So, hate it. But she's hoping that Josh will get released today. Okay, so now I don't know if this makes more sense to the story. To me, no, but I don't know. She says that he was getting a 5-week psychiatric evaluation just to rule out mental illness. This, again, doesn't sound quite right to me. Something here does not sound quite right. I can't imagine anyone would appear mentally well in a juvenile hall, being so young and away from your family. And just, I don't know, this whole thing rubs me the wrong way. But she's hoping that the results are good and that they're going to let him out. And then Lori comes back to the car and it is horrible news. I'm telling you, this boy did not have a chance from day one. Whatever team is around him is terrible. His psychologist did not show up to the case today with his evaluation. So they couldn't do anything. So he stays in juvie. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I think I would sue. And then, as if it couldn't get worse for Lori, she pulls in home, like from the court, like she just left court. She's pulling into her driveway and she sees Ashley out on the sidewalk, just like walking around, like looking around. And we see her like just walking around outside. And Lori's like, what's going on? And Ashley says, I'm looking for my car. Lori's like, well, where'd you park? When'd you last have it? Like, what's going on? And Ashley's like, I just parked it here. I don't know. It's not here. Lori's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Have you been making your car payments? If you remember, Ashley is technically out of work and she moved back home and she quit her job, even though she's kind of half working at Vicky's, kind of half not. So Lori says, did you make your car payment? And Ashley's like, yeah. And my other car payment was in there. So I'm like, okay, she did not pay her car payment. There's no way. Why would her car payment just be sitting in the car? I don't know. I don't get it. So Lori's like, okay, let's go in the house. Let's figure this out. Maybe it was stolen. Who knows? So they call the insurance and yeah, the car was repossessed. Ashley has not made a payment since she bought it. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I believe she made one car payment, but yet she never actually made the down payment. And she's also another payment behind. And she quit her job the week that she bought a car. Oh my God, this makes me so afraid to be a mother, even though I am trying really hard to be one. It hasn't happened yet, but scenes like this and just knowing how I was growing up makes me so scared to be a mom. This is so stressful. Bless you parents out there, for real, because this is a nightmare. Hearts out to Lori. She has gone through it. Now we're back with Vicky and her boys all out on the boat, and we head into some choppy waters, if you will. Dawn gets pulled over by the boat police. There are boat police, apparently, go around on their little boats and give like breathalyzers over the weekend, whatever. Well, they all got pulled over because someone had ripped off their like '05 boat tag. I guess like, you know, you have to have like a boat tag of some sort, I'm sure, like maybe like an inspection tag. Like, I know nothing about boats, but their 2005 sticker has been ripped off their boat. That's so ass. Like, don't do that, you know? I have to say, this is such a display of white privilege because this is a scary situation. You know, police are pulling you over for something. Don's been drinking. He's driving the boat, technically, like he is driving. And so Don's really freaked out because all of a sudden this turns into the police also want a boat check. They want to do a safety inspection, which means there has to be 9 life vests on the boat. There has to be a fire extinguisher. There has to be all these things. And Don's been drinking, so he's definitely paranoid that he's going to get a breathalyzer test. So they're like frantically trying to find the life vest, trying to find the fire extinguisher. The whole time, Vicky is like giggling and laughing and like joking and prodding at the cops. She is being so annoying. And it's just like a big, fat, white woman privilege card right here. I mean, who on earth would just be so goofy with the police officers who are like searching your vehicle, for lack of a better term, your boat, your current vehicle, and she's just goofing off. She thinks it's funny. Don is afraid though. He's like, this is serious, and he's like snapping at Vicky. He's like, knock it off, this is serious, I could get in trouble. They're looking, and eventually they finally find the fire extinguisher. Thank goodness, because that was the one thing that was really going to get them busted if they could not find the fire extinguisher. So they found it, and Don is so pissed off at Vicky, and he's like, that was really serious. What are you doing? You can't be goofing off when they're giving breathalyzers, and I could have gotten arrested. He's like, this is serious. Why are you goofing off? And so now Vicky's all pissed off because he just kind of killed her buzz. But it's a really interesting scene to watch, especially after just, the talks of privilege over the past few years and being more aware. I have to say, when I was younger watching this, in 2005 when I was watching this, I wouldn't have blinked twice at Vicky being silly. I wouldn't have seen how that's a privilege, you know what I mean? And watching it now, I'm like, holy shit, that is insane that she is being so goofy with them. I mean, it's really interesting to watch. We're back at Lori's, and she's talking more about Josh because Josh has just called in for his little weekly phone call. And I just have to say really quickly, Lori's daughter, Sophie, she looks like she's probably 6 or 7 years old, but you can just tell she loves her brother Josh so much. She was so excited to talk to him on the phone. She wants him home right now. She was excited to tell him, that her hamster had babies, and just, you can just hear they have such a close relationship. And she's so young, she's so young to miss her brother like this. And it makes me feel terrible. And I just love their relationship. And it makes me sad knowing that Josh really never seemed to get better. Even today, I think he struggles. So it's really hard. I bet it's hard on everybody. Lori then opens up a little bit more about what truly happened. So she was leaving this out the first few episodes. And I wish that they would have played this clip at the beginning because I wouldn't have spent so much time talking in this video about how things just didn't seem to add up. And now we know why. So apparently a teacher tried to rip the drugs out of Josh's hand, but there was no drugs in Josh's hand. And so it turned into a bit of a scuffle between him and the teacher. And so he got charged with felony aggravated assault, which is terrible. So that makes sense as to why Josh is still in juvenile hall. It has nothing to do with the supposed drugs. It's the fact that he supposedly assaulted a teacher, which is no good. So there you go. But what's interesting is that they want Josh to take a plea bargain to get him out. For that, he'd obviously have to plead guilty, and Josh says he feels really, really conflicted because he says he didn't do it. It's such a gotcha system. It's so unfair. It's awful. Finally, we are at Gina's for the barbecue, and all the housewives are here. We have Joe and Slade. And the families too, by the way. We have Joe and Slade and their kids. We have Vicky and her entire family. Obviously, Gina and her entire family. We have Kimberly and her whole family. I haven't seen Lori yet, but I think she's coming. And so everyone is mingling, meeting each other, kind of. Slade's being a weirdo. We'll get to that in a second. But finally, our worlds are colliding, you guys. And from here on, the episodes are going to get so much better because the wives are going to actually finally start interacting. And the episodes on Cheeky Couch won't feel so choppy like we're with this person, we're with this person. It'll be a lot more group activities very soon, which is so exciting. So right away, when Joe walks in, Shane is sitting on the couch and he boom, like his eyes light up. He clearly thinks that Joe is a little cutie, and she absolutely is. He introduces himself to Joe, to Slade, and then the minute Joe and Slade walk out of the room, Shane kind of gets like a rubberneck, and he's like watching Joe walk away. So clearly, he thinks she's a bit of a cutie. And let's be honest, Joe and him are probably closer in age than a lot of people here are to Joe. So it doesn't surprise me that maybe there's a spark of chemistry. So everyone's outdoors socializing. They're sitting down to eat the delicious looking barbecue. They have some yummy looking kebabs. I'd love to get some noms in on those. But anyway, it's late. I'm delirious again. Anyway, so Gina's sitting next to Shane and everyone's kind of at the same table, except for Slade and Joe are off like at a kid's table. Like they're not with the group. They're kind of distancing themselves. And it's like super weird looking when everyone's kind of gathered together and they just like slink off into a corner. And I have to tell you, I've made some comments about Shane, but the way that he analyzes and sums up Slade in a matter of just minutes is unbelievable. I don't know what this means. I think that this scene should be studied. The fact that Shane seems to be somewhat socially awkward most of the time, but he was able to see Slade, meet him for the first time, and boom, instantly sum up what Slade is and how Slade feels about Joe and about being around other people. It just absolutely blows my mind. So let me just tell you what he said already. Gina was like, where's Slade and Joe? And Shane goes, he's hiding Joe over there. And he says that Slade is so intimidated by Joe, he has to kind of like keep her all to himself and away from others. Like it makes him uncomfortable for Joe to be talking to other people. And then he says that it's not even a jealousy thing. Slade just wants to control Joe and keep her all to himself. And I'm like, holy effing shit. How did this young guy who doesn't seem to have many relationships just like sum up Slade like that quickly? I don't understand it, but like huge gold stars for Shane here. He immediately knew what this was, and that's exactly what it is. Slade is like hiding Joe away from everyone, and it's so freaking weird. And Gina's like, well, do you think that she's pretty? Like to Shane about Joe? And Shane goes, yeah, she's beautiful. And that's why he takes her in a corner and he hides her away so that nobody can look at her. And I'm like, how does he know this? I just felt like maybe I figured that out easy because I'm a woman. But I would have to even imagine, even at Shane's age, in his early 20s, I don't know that I would have picked up on that type of toxic, behavior or mentality. Now I would, but back then I would not have picked up on this. So again, kudos to Shane for spotting that. And hopefully, because he recognizes this isn't something that he would ever repeat in his own life. So then Joe goes and sits down with the ladies and everybody else, and Slade like can't wait to get his little butt out of there, but also he wants to stay close to listen in on the conversation. It's very weird. Slade is just awkward. And the ladies like, how long have you been together? She's like, a year and a half. They asked, when's the wedding? Because she's engaged to Slade, obviously. And she says their date is 7/7/2007, which is like 2 years away from filming this. This is 2005. So they're like, gosh, that's really a long time. And then Slade runs over and he goes, tell them the real reason why the date is so late. And Joe's looking there like confused. She's like, I don't know why it's so late. And I don't know the truth here or whatever, but Slade pops in and goes, I gave her a wedding budget of $100,000. That's her budget for the wedding, but she wants a bigger budget. So we have to wait till then. And I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't get that vibe from Joe. I don't see Joe saying, I need a wedding that costs more than $100,000. I don't think it's possible. I just don't see it. I don't see it coming from Joe. I just find it weird that he had to jump in and again, speak about money. This is what I mean from, one of the first episodes that we met Slade, and I just felt like the amount that he talks about wealth and the bigger car he drives, it just seems like he doesn't have as much as he likes to pretend that he has. I don't know. It just gave me a weird vibe. It's so déclassé to talk about money like that, and the fact that he's so willing to, just because he knows that he's at a wealthier person's house. And again, he's trying to get into this type of circle. He just seems too eager to discuss money when the wealthiest people on the show, they never talk about money. But Slade is so eager to, it just makes me uncomfortable. I hate it. So the barbecue seemed to go pretty well. The next day, Shane is pulling up to Joe and Slade's house, and he brought his little weapon, his little BB gun, or I don't know what type of gun it is. He is going over to Joe and Slade's to kill the bunnies. Joe opens the door for him, and there's no Slade. It's just Joe. Again, Joe is only 24, so he takes Joe out back and he's teaching her how to use this gun of some sort. I think it's a BB gun, I don't know. What's interesting is Joe really seems more interested than Shane, or Shane's just a little more subtle and quiet about the whole thing. Like, he's actually being pretty respectful, and Joe keeps making all these, like, sex comments, and then she goes, what does your girlfriend think about you coming over here? Which obviously she's just trying to feel out if he has a girlfriend. So then he's leaving, I guess. I didn't really see him attempt to hunt any bunnies. He kind of sat on a lawn chair for a few minutes, and now he's leaving? I don't know. I'm assuming this was organized by production. They wanted to get the two young, hot people of the show together, because there was just no reason for him to be here. So she is walking Shane out. Slade is pulling up to the house, and Joe freaking picks up the gun and goes, "There's Slade," and like points it at him. Shane goes, "If your husband yells at me, it's not my fault." And Joe snaps back and goes, "He's just my fiance." Like, Joe, girl, down, okay? You are engaged though. Like, boundaries, girl. I don't want you to be with Slade, and thank God you're not anymore. But it's like, at the time being, you are engaged, so calm down. So Shane leaves, and Slade is pissed. Joe goes, like, "I can feel a fight coming. Like, what's going on?" And Slade's like, "Oh, I don't know. You're just, like, out in the front yard holding a gun with some hot 18-year-old, and you and Elmer Fudd are having chats." Like, he literally calls him Elmer Fudd, which I have to give him a little props to. That's kind of freaking hilarious. You guys, that was it for episode 4. So let me plug in a new camera battery because this one is dying, and we will get on to episode number 5. Okay, changed my battery, got my tea. We are ready for round 2. Episode 5's title is very weird. It is "Cut the P and the Lem out of problem and you get Rob." Who is Rob? Am I forgetting Rob? I don't remember, like, meeting Rob. So very interesting. We'll get to that, I'm assuming. The episode starts out actually really cute. Dog lovers, you will love this. They're kind of just showing every family's dog. Everybody has these purebred, beautiful dogs. Adopt, don't shop, people, but beautiful animals nonetheless, and it's just a cute little, collage, montage of everybody and their dogs. Slade actually bought Joe 2 dogs to keep her company while she was a stay-at-home fiance. He's kind of punishing her for the fact that she has a job, and so he's waited around all day for her to come home and clean up the dog's poop in the yard because they're, like, technically her dogs. I hate that type of mentality. Like, not for nothing, Alok bought me our cats. At the time, he was working a lot of nights out of town, and I was scared. It was our first time living alone, and we were in a new apartment in a new town. I was pretty afraid to be alone. Alok got me Lola and Luca, our 2 cats, and those were definitely to keep me company, but they were both of our responsibility, and we've never had, like, a you do the litter and I do the food, and, like, we've just never had that. I feel in a functional household, if you see something that needs to be done, like, either party takes care of it. I really don't care for this whole, I bought you the dog so you clean up their poop shit. Unless it's like your kids and you're trying to teach them a lesson. And I guess that's what makes me uncomfortable with the Joe Slade situation. He really does almost parent her and tries to give her these mini lessons all the time. And it is so gross, so awkward, so weird, so cringe, so Slade. So we're back at Gina's house, and they have a biomechanical engineer guy here to work with Shane. They're always trying to get Shane into the major leagues. So this guy works with your body, and they can download all the data to a computer and, like, show you your stats, I guess. And so I guess it's just something like that, something to improve Shane's performance. Gina makes a really interesting comment about how it's really hard to raise your kids alone. And so she's really thankful for the coaches and everyone who have played a big part in her kids' lives. And I'm like, Gina's married. To our knowledge, he lives at home. Yes, he travels for work. I didn't know she considered herself basically a single parent. And if you'll remember from the last episode, we saw that Gina's husband did have a horrible head injury. It caused brain damage to where he was never the same. I sympathize for her husband who has brain damage. A lot of it, I'm sure, is out of his control fully. He seems to be functional, but it's just a shame that probably something's a little off, not exactly right, and it probably puts a lot of pressure on Gina to take care of everything. We then see Gina's other son, Colton, and what's interesting about him is from the way they talk, it sounds like he's even better at baseball than Shane is. It kind of sounds like, for some reason, Colt is the better player, he's the better athlete, and yet he really doesn't even get half of the attention that his older brother Shane has. So Gina's telling us about how Colton broke his wrist. She said he came home and she thought it was just a spider bite or a bee or something stung him because it was quite swollen. And then later that night, he opened up to her about the fact that he had punched somebody. The boy that he punched was smoking marijuana. It offended Colton. It offended him, unfortunately. And so I imagine he probably made a snide comment of sorts. And then the kid that he punched made a comment back to Colt saying that he's like an Orange County little baby and like he doesn't know how to fight and things like that. And so Colt felt challenged, so then he hit him. Long story short, he broke his wrist and he's headed off to have surgery. Again, the pressure, I can't imagine what this kid goes through, because Gina makes a comment that it's actually the Angels baseball team's doctor that will be doing Colt's surgery. She was like, this is not just like a kid's broken wrist. This is his career. Like, we have to make sure it's fixed and it's fixed right. And I was like, holy effing shit. This kid just like kind of broke his wrist. It's like really not a big kids get bumps and bruises, but no, not in this family. They look at this as like a career thing. Now we're with Vicky and Lori, and they are going out for a little girls' night. Vicky says that lately Lori and her have been spending a lot more time together outside of the office, which is really nice. I'm glad they had a bit more of a bonding experience when they went. They went to New Orleans for that conference, and it sounds like they really bonded because in the beginning, Vicky was getting pretty frustrated with Lori and her progression in insurance sales. And they're just having a girls' night. Lorelai, Lori's friends there, I don't think she plays much of a part in the show. They're just kind of talking about their woes, right? They're talking about Josh. They're talking about Dawn being out of work, talking about kids, life, things like that. But then we get to Brianna. Brianna is Vicky's daughter, and we meet Colby. Colby is Brianna's boyfriend, and they are so, so cute. They're a really cute little couple. They even have, and this really intrigues me because I've never taken Vicky to be super religious. She doesn't seem to be, but who knows these days, honestly. You really can't tell. But Brianna and Colby have matching promise rings. They have taken a vow. They've made a promise to each other that they will not have sex until they are married, which is literally so sweet. I really respect that choice if that's what they want. Yeah, so he's really cute, and they're going out to dinner. This is one of the most iconic Vicky scenes coming up. And it's like, I'm telling you, it's like a 2-second scene. And you can find GIFs of it everywhere. People love this freaking scene with Vicky. So Vicky calls and Brianna's just saying, we wanted to go to Newport Beach. After we finish up here, we're having dinner at blah, blah, blah. Vicky just so happens to be around the corner. And I actually believe I read an interview, or it's in the reunion. I don't know, but I either read or watched Vicky talk about this exact scene because Brianna and Colby are out to dinner together. Vicky's not supposed to be in the vicinity. And next thing you know, Vicky pops in and she goes, "Hi, princess!" This theme of Vicky is just obsessed with poor Brianna. Vicky is just funny to me. She's terrible, but God, she's funny. Brianna wants to go to Newport Beach after dinner with Colby, and Mama Vicky shuts that down. She says, no way. That's the end of that. Vicky does make one interesting comment, though, and I really like this about Vicky, and it's obviously she's somewhat projecting because, if you remember, Dawn is not the kids' parent. Vicky has an ex-husband who is the father of her children, and she really doesn't want Brianna to marry her high school sweetheart. And she says she loves Colby. He's a part of the family. He's really focused on becoming a firefighter. He's like all around a good guy. But she just doesn't want that for Brianna. She wants Brianna to experience more and not be so focused on her high school sweetheart. We're back with Lori at the county jail or the juvenile hall. And she was hoping he'd get out today, but no. He's going to get out in 2 days, so she should have him by Saturday, which she's really, really excited for. Next, we are with Slade and Joe. So this is like the one interesting thing about Slade. And finally, I almost felt like I saw a little bit of humanity. I saw a part of what Slade truly is, not the bad side, but just an actual interest he has that isn't all about just getting into this social circle. He's like a little Dan Humphrey. It's why he freaks me out so much. He is a Dan Humphrey. He wants to be the ultimate insider, and it's just like, bleh. But we actually get to see a little human side of Slade. He opens up this closet in his boy's bedroom. It's a bit of a jump scare if you're not ready for it. They have hundreds of these really, really, like, movie quality masks, like scary masks from like movies and such. Well, he actually says that when he started making a little bit of money, him and his boys got into the hobby of collecting movie masks, and the boys love it and they're all putting them on, and I was like, that is cool, Slade. See, why have I watched 5 episodes with you and I feel like you are just not even a real person? And it wasn't until the 5th episode that I got to learn just a little bit of authentic information about you, something real and something nice, something that you're doing with your kids, something that you enjoy. Sometimes I feel bad for Slade and I'm like, man, if he wasn't putting on such a shitty front to the show, maybe we would have liked him better. If we saw more moments like this, who knows though, you know, in editing and all that is a bitch alone, you know what I mean? They will always make you look like how the show wants you to look like. But still, it was nice to see him having this bonding moment with his boys, and the masks are so cool. I would love to go through there and look at them all. They are just so interesting. I love it. And he doesn't just have the masks. He has the full body costumes. He has an official, like legit, $7,000 Batman suit that George Clooney wore in the movie. Now we get a Don moment, my favorite Don. Oh! So because Don is out of work, him and his buddy purchased a house and they are going to flip it and make some money that way. So good for Don. And like I said, he had some type of employment through Home Depot, so I imagine he probably knows a lot about this type of house reno situation. Michael shows up and we didn't see him work, but they said he worked for like a few hours and then he leaves. If you remember, Michael has no job. This is Vicky's son. He has no job. He's home for the summer and they just think he's a bum. He's not pulling his weight. He's basically flunking out of school. And so Michael's like, well, I gotta go. I got schoolwork to do. I gotta get out of here. Because I think he has to do some sort of summer school program where he's taking classes to like catch up everything he was flunking out. But Don's so funny because he was like, he's damn near flunked out the entire year. But today, when he's supposed to be working on this job site, like now school's important, but he's like laughing about it. It's just funny. Anyway, and then they shoot back to Michael and he went back home and he's in the pool. He's in the pool with his bestie. He was like, it better not be chilly. If I catch a chill, I'll be pissed. And I was just like, oh my God. Is this an Orange County kid? I've never come across one before, so wow. Now we're with Lori and her daughter, Sophie, her youngest daughter, and Steve, and they are headed to juvie to finally get Josh out. He is coming home. You guys, my heart, I can't take this. His little sister, Sophie, just comes running and jumps right in his arms. She has missed her big brother so very much. This is so painful, you guys. And Josh looks wonderful. He really does. I know Lori mentioned that while he was away, they had finally gotten him on medication. He has a really bad ADHD, as well as, I'm sure, a lot of trauma and anxiety. Just from growing up in a unsteady, very almost unsafe, even mentally unsafe household with, I'm sure he has a multitude of things that he has to kind of work out to be better. He looks good though. He just looks happy and so thankful to be out. They get in the car and little Sophie makes this comment that breaks my heart so bad. She says, you can't get in trouble or you're going to go away for a year. Like, she's begging, please don't get in trouble. I don't want you to go away. And the fact that this little girl is worrying about that already, ugh, it's just so hard. She should have no worries, you know? And I know that's not realistic, but she just shouldn't. She shouldn't be worried about her big brother going away for a year. Now, it is Father's Day in Orange County. Jo was really cute. She planned a massage for Slade, and while he was getting a massage, Slade's sons and Jo went to the store and got a bunch of stuff for a cute picnic, and they went to the beach to have a picnic. Kimberly did the same thing. She took her father and her kids and her husband to the beach, and they also had a picnic. Then we see Vicky with her daughter Brianna, and they're out to lunch together. Vicky's talking about how Brianna doesn't really have a father figure. I would really disagree with, and I think that's hurtful to Dawn. Vicky kind of thinks that Brianna is clinging onto her boyfriend Colby simply because she doesn't have a father figure. I think it's just young love. We're back at Gina's house. She is getting home with Colton from his surgery, and his father's there. He makes, again, a weird comment, and maybe I'm taking it wrong. I probably am. I'm not looking that far into it, so it's not a big deal. But he says, if God didn't put a hand on any of my children, he did with Colton. He's the best all-around athlete. He's the best kid. And I'm just kind of like, oh my God. I don't know. Doesn't that just kind of feel like a weird comment to make about one of your children? I'm sure I'm reading into that way too far. I've never heard that expression before, so I was just kind of like, oh, whoa, that's a little odd. But anyway, it looks like his surgery went well. Gina goes to visit him. Colton's laying down. Obviously, he's probably really tired, or anesthesia or whatever the hell they had to do. And Gina's asking if she should call the other kid's mother and tell them that he was doing drugs, quote unquote, that he was smoking marijuana, but she says using drugs. It's crazy how, I mean, marijuana is still looked at as pretty terrible today in some locations, but I'm surprised that even in Orange County that she was like clutching her pearls at some marijuana. You can't tell me she wasn't smoking some hashish at the Playboy Mansion back in the day. Remember that Gina is a former Playmate. And also with her husband's brain trauma, I wonder how much marijuana could have helped him with pain or with nerves or anxiety. It's interesting how much we learn over the years, right? And he's like, no, please don't call the other kid's mom. And I agree. If it's not life threatening, if it's nothing like that, I probably just would not get involved. You know, if this kid's smoking pot, I'd have to imagine chances are his parents already know, and maybe they're even okay with it. Like, who knows? Don't put like your kid at stake over someone else's kid, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can go and rat on the other kid, but then it's only going to bring negativity to your child because everyone's going to know that you're the one who ratted, you know? So it's just kind of like, come on. I hope she didn't say anything because it probably would only put her son in a bad position. Now we're back with Kimberly. Her and her kids are doing a hula dancing lesson. It looks like they already pretty much know the choreography, so I wonder if this is like a routine class that they do. They look pretty good at it. It's really, really cute. Even the little boys are in there learning the dance, and I love that. I love to see boys dancing in dance class. I just feel like it just doesn't happen enough. And then she starts talking about, again, her battle with skin cancer. It's something that she has struggled with her whole life. She's had many brushes with cancer, and like 8 years ago, she was told she only had 2 to 5 more years to live. And like, thank goodness they were wrong and she's here today. But she's going to go get checked out by her doctor. She sees him about every 8 weeks because she has had so many brushes with skin cancer. And she has a particular mole right now that she's really concerned about. And again, guys, get your moles checked. And I need to tell this to myself. I have so many moles that I'm really worried about and I need to just go get them checked because it really freaks me out. Her doctor is a little concerned with the mole, and so they're going to go ahead and biopsy it and send it to the pathologist. And fingers crossed for Kimberly, because I just can't imagine hearing those words after you've already gone through it so many times. I bet just a certain feeling probably comes right back to her gut. I mean, when you have children, and such young children, her boys are so young. I think they're only like 5 and 7. I mean, it's awful. It's so scary. We're back at Vicky's house, and she said she's so excited because Michael finally got a job. He's delivering pizzas 1 day a week. Now, delivering pizzas is hard work. It's not easy. My husband delivered pizzas for like the first part of our relationship, and he was exhausted. It's a lot of work. It's no joke, but 1 day a week sounds pretty cushy. I'm not gonna lie. Sounds pretty cushy. Vicky and Lori are working hard in their office. It's super dark out, so you can tell it's really late at night. They seem just exhausted from work. And so Vicky invites Lori to go hang out in the jacuzzi, have some wine. Well, she says get drunk, but same thing, right? And it's nice to see Vicky and Lori's relationship kind of blossoming into a really good friendship. Vicky says that she would confide in Lori about absolutely anything, so I think that's really sweet. Then this jacuzzi party takes a bit of a weird turn. It gets a bit of a Mrs. Robinson vibe, okay? Michael and his friends come home, or they come out to the jacuzzi, and they are more than excited to see Vicky and Lori in the pool. All the boys are just like going goo goo gaga for Lori. One of the guys gives a definition of MILF. He's like, she's a MILF. She's a mother I'd like to blank, you know? And I'm just like, oh my Lord. I mean, these boys are in college. It's not a crazy big deal, but it just makes me super uncomfortable. Oh my God, if my son and his friends were over and I was in the hot tub with my friends, I would just be like, please do not come back here because this is just so inappropriate and strange, and I hate it. It creeps me out so much. And Vicky is being even more inappropriate than Lori is. She's like begging the boys to come into the jacuzzi. They're like, come in. She's like, come in. I don't bite. And then she's obviously like wine drunk, right? And so she goes up to one of Mike's friends And she like gives him a big ol' hug with her boobies out and gives him a kiss. And it's just like, it is getting far too much. I hate this. It's so uncomfortable. Now we're with Joe and Slade has planned a date night for Joe. He's taking her go-karting, which I have to tell you, I went go-karting. I took a local go-karting for his birthday. This was pre-COVID because it was one of the last birthday activities that we ever did. I'm pretty sure it was for his birthday, but yeah, we went go-kart racing. And I was in the beginner, they have like a beginner track, right? There was an absolute psychopath older man in the track with me who was like ramming me and screaming at me the entire time to like hurry up and go faster. And I'm afraid of driving as is. I don't drive. I'm terrified. Not only that, I do have epilepsy, so I'm legally not allowed to drive unless I'm 6 months free of a seizure. But regardless, I thought, okay, go-karting, not so serious. Let's go. No, this madman was absolutely ramming me, and Alok was like trying to catch up to him and get him away from me, like in the beginner's track. It's like, if you're this intense about go-karting, by the way, he was there by himself. It's like, go to a track, go to the more advanced track. Why are you in the beginner track? But he was ramming me, you guys. It was so scary, and I'll never go go-karting ever again. My life is ruined. I will never go go-karting ever again because that was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I left crying because the guy was screaming at me. Like, oh my god. People are so scary. So Joe and Slade make a cute little bet. That's cute to do. Slade's bet is weird and just like so unoriginal. I think that's what annoys me the most about what he wants out of this bet. It is so uninspired, unoriginal, and again, I feel like he lacks humanity here. Joe says if she wins, she wants a new Louis Vuitton bag. And then if Slade wins, of course, guess what he wants? He wants Joe to put on a maid's costume and clean the house in a little maid costume. I'm like, you want her to clean? How boring could you get? Like, you are trying so hard to create this weird image and like, you're just pulling things from every weird little movie you watched growing up or something. It's just so unoriginal, uninspired. Like, get exciting with it. Get spicy. Make an original thing. Like, if you want to go sexy stuff, like, really pull out all the stops. What is sexy about her just putting on a maid's costume and dusting? God damn it, Slade. You reel me in and then you throw me right back out. I can't stand him. And of course, Slade wins the freaking bet. Joe came in third, so he gets his so unoriginal, boring-ass fantasy. This is Slade's fantasy. This is it. Boring. So anyway, now we jump back to Slade and Joe's house, and she's just dusting in a maid costume. It is the most boring thing I have ever seen. I'd rather watch paint dry. That would be sexier. Seeing a coat of paint dry, and I'm not saying anything about Joe. Joe's hot in whatever she does. I'm just, it's the unoriginality of Slade. This is what you choose. It's just like he's 13, It's just like, oh my god. He has not progressed, like, he peaked at 13. Probably not 12. He peaked at 12, and it's been downhill since there. Joe looks amazing, but it's weird. It's a little demeaning, and I hate it. To end the episode, we're back with Kimberly, and she gets a call from the doctor. It is malignant. This is her 5th malignant melanoma in a row. She says her doctor is extremely concerned, and that it's very rare that you have 5 in a row, and that they need to look into her immune system and see why her body is letting her down so much with these things. I don't know anything about cancer. I really, really don't. And so if I've said anything incorrectly, I'm just kind of repeating what I saw. But I hate that. I absolutely hate that for Kimberly. I know I've been hard on her, but I don't want her to be, harmed. It's sad and it's hard and it's so scary. The fact that she has kids, I can't imagine. All right, you guys, we're done with episodes 4 and 5. We are rolling right into episode 6. Episode 6 is called Shocking News. I know in this episode, Kimberly hears from her doctor. We also have some huge news about Joe and Slade, okay? This is a crazy episode. Let's get into it. Our episode begins with Lori and her bestie, Lorelai, getting ready. Again, I love that name, Lorelai. Can one of you name your children Lorelai? I can't name my children Lorelai. Alok will not like it. He will definitely think it's too white. I'm just gonna be honest with you. He will say no. But Lorelai, and sorry, it is so late. I'm a little Looney Tunes. I don't want to tell you guys what time it is. I'm embarrassed. It's almost 4 a.m. Eek! I'm so hopped up on Coca-Cola. Oh my God. That was a close one. Coca-Cola. I'm showing you the proof right here. It is in my cup, okay? Lori and Lorelai are getting ready because they're going to be taking some photos. They're doing a photo shoot by themselves, not professional. They're going to go out to the beach and take pictures of each other because they are sending photos to the Playboy Mansion to try and get into one of the Playboy parties. Now, Lori actually says she's been a number of times. It's really easy for her to get into these parties because she's a blonde. However, Hef, being the creep that he is, required to see photos, sexy photos of every guest who would be coming to his parties. I doubt he did that for the males. I think we've all watched enough Playboy documentaries by now to know how much of a creep he was. Regardless, they really want to get into this party. So they're dolling up, they're doing some makeup, they're going to head out to the beach and try and take some super sexy photos so they can get into this party. And I really commend Lori here because she does have, what does she have? She has 3 kids, she's a divorcee, and she is smoking hot. She takes care of herself. So I love that she still has the confidence to even try to get into a Playboy party. She wasn't like, oh, I have kids, I'm too old. Like, no, she said, I'm hot as F and I'm gonna go. And I love that for her. So they're at the beach, they are taking their sexy little photo shoot by themselves, and they look amazing. They actually do so good. Like, Lori's like laying out all hot on the beach. She literally looks like she could be doing like Maxim, or she could be doing one of those Sports Illustrated swimsuit model vibes. They look hot. Lorelai too, they look amazing. Now we're with Dawn and Vicky. They're leaving the house to go somewhere. I think they said they were going to the beach. I don't know if they're going to dinner or something because they keep talking about how hungry they are. But Dawn let us know that he got a job. He's a senior advisor at a manufacturing company, something like that. And he's been out of work for like 5-6 months. So yay for Dawn. You know, even if they're living comfortably, you don't feel good to be out of work. It doesn't feel good. So I'm just happy for him and just for his sense of self. The only downside is he has to take an hour plane ride 1 to 2 times a week because the home office is in Sacramento. If you remember, he doesn't want to relocate the family, and I know Vicky doesn't want to leave. Her ass isn't going to Sacramento, so he does have to fly to work like once or twice a week. It's only an hour, so it's not a big deal, but it still sucks. Oh my God, to go through airport security once or twice a week. Yikes. Okay, so now they've arrived to dinner. It looks like it's a little celebratory dinner for Dawn, and I'm so happy for him. And Vicky says she's proud of him, and I bet that meant a lot to Dawn. Vicky kind of laughs it off, but she's tough on him. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I don't know the ins and outs of their relationship, but I think it probably meant a lot for her to say that to Dawn. Vicky then says she wants another dog because she's having separation anxiety. Brianna is going off to college, and if we know anything about Vicky by now, Brianna is her favorite person in the world, and I can't imagine Vicky when Brianna goes to college. I bet she really struggled, and I feel bad for her. I really do. But Don's so annoyed. He's like, you gotta like let it go. Like, you gotta cut the cord here. Let her go off to college. You're gonna have to deal with this. We can't just get a new dog just because your kids are leaving. And he's like, you gotta stop calling Michael to tell him that he has a test. I mean, that is a little much. If your son's in college and you're still reminding him of a test coming up, or you're calling to give him a wake-up call, that's a bit much. Then we find out that Vicky is actually going to Chicago this week for her high school reunion, and the invitation came in the mail and it literally said no spouses, like, welcome, no spouses invited. What kind of, is that normal? That is so freaking rude. Wouldn't you want to bring your significant other, especially if you haven't seen your high school friends in so long? Like, wouldn't you want to meet their spouses? This smells like trouble to me. I feel like, I don't know, who is throwing this high school party? Because it just sounds like some guy who wants to bang everyone he didn't bang in high school is throwing the party, so he wants to make sure no one's bringing spouses. Is that normal? I would be so creeped out if Alok was like, I'm going to my high school reunion and spouses aren't allowed. I'm like, no, I'm coming. Like, I guess I'll volunteer to be like beverage service so that I can just stand in the corner like a little freak and just meet all your friends. And well, actually, now that I think about it, we went to high school together, so that doesn't I guess I would be invited too, so never mind. But it just seems weird to me. I don't like that no spouses allowed type of energy. Not that you have to be with your spouse all the time. I go out without mine all the time. Aloko is out without me all the time. But if there's something that specifies no spouses, that's weird to me. I don't like it. And Vicky has an ex-boyfriend that she apparently still communicates with. His name is Bob. And Don's like, yeah, I know Bob. Like, is Bob going? Bob's a geek. Bob's a dork. And Vicky's like, he's not a dork. He's not a geek. He's a very good guy. He's a very nice guy. Like, she's so protective over this Bob character. And if I remember correctly, at the reunion, when Vicky shows up, Bob's like running away from her all night, trying to avoid her. If I remember correctly. We're going to get there, but yeah, Vicky's traveling. Now we're with Gina and Shane is getting ready to go off to college soon as well. Gosh, everyone's leaving the nest on this season. So they're kind of going through his courses, and Gina says she's really going to miss Shane, but she's not going to miss the competition between all of her kids, particularly Cara and Shane. They fight a lot. They bicker a lot. Shane says they're like just complete opposites and they're super, super competitive. And it's true. If you've watched just a few episodes of them, they're always kind of bickering, fighting, competing with each other, but there is obviously love there. They care about each other very much, and they're young. It's like what you do, you know? Shane also just got a new car. He got an Audi, and so Cara is super, super jelly. She likes it better than her car, and because Cara's so jealous and feels like, you know, she needs something to even the score, she asks her mom for a ton of money to go shopping for clothes, which she gets, and she does go. Oh my gosh, her clothing total, I don't think I've ever spent this much on clothes. It's crazy. And there's this like really, okay, Cara is an athlete. She has a very healthy body. And she's complaining to her mom, like, I need money. I need, you know, new clothes. I don't have enough clothes. And her mom's like, you have tons of clothes, enough clothes to last you like 10 years. And Cara's like, yeah, but I grow out of them. And Gina looks at her daughter and goes, then stop eating. Oh my God. I can't believe that she said that. I could not believe that she said that. That was, my jaw dropped. I can't imagine saying that to my daughter or my son, anybody. I can't imagine saying that to anybody, let alone your child. But not for nothing, Gina was a model. I'm sure she understands and remembers the pressure of your body. I mean, she was a Playboy centerfold, for crying out loud. I just can't believe she said that. Luckily, I mean, I don't know, at least on the show, it doesn't look like it. Cara kind of storms off, but she gets her way, she gets her money, she gets her clothes. I think she probably knows she looks great, and so maybe she hopefully didn't take it too close to heart, because yikes, that was so painful to watch, and I bet Gina hates that being on TV now. So then Cara's shopping with her bestie. They get to the total, and it looks like she only has like 4 or 5 shopping bags. I don't know. For that total, I mean, I guess where I shop, I'd have like 10 bags. Like, I can't believe how much she spent. Oh my God. But if they have it, it's a different lifestyle. They're able to afford that for their kids. God bless, you know, enjoy it. But yikes, that I had a heart attack there. Now we're with Joe and Slade. Slade's parents are coming for a visit. They're pulling up to Coto de Casa in an RV. It is an RV weekend. Do you remember in yesterday's episode of Real Housewives of New Jersey, Jacqueline's family showed up. Her parents showed up in an RV as well. Now that RV in Jersey was like supreme RV. This one, not that it's not nice. It's like a huge freaking bus. It's a little older. They're actually from Alaska. So they drove down all the way from Alaska in their RV, which is so cute. His dad's got a little cowboy hat on and they have a little doggy in the car and it's so cute. And they are here to obviously visit Slade and the kids and Joe. However, Slade's father has some interesting things to say about Joe, and we will get there. So now Joe comes down and she's saying hi to everyone, giving hugs and everything. And the mom's just kind of talking about their drive down. And she's like, yeah, so, you know, we drove through Alaska. Now we're here. It was crazy driving through. And Joe says, was there a lot of ice? I think that's a fair enough question if you're not familiar with Alaska and their seasons. Slade's mom, she literally says, did she seriously just ask that? Did she just ask that? Tell me she did not just say that. And I'm just like, damn, like, relax. My gosh, I get the impression that maybe Slade's mom was a little judgmental growing up, and that's why Slade's a bit of a lunatic in that way. Yeah, his mom is not happy with that question. So Slade's like, it's summer, Joe. Like, it's summer. It's like, yo, relax. She's just asking. I don't know. I gotta be honest with you, I probably would have assumed that it's icy in certain parts of Alaska, all 365 of the year, It just, if you've never been there, you don't know. So then, they brought a dog, and Joe's clearly a dog person. She's so excited to see the dog. So she's just trying to pet it. She's just like, and Slade's like getting so frustrated with her. He's like, can you go lay out the placemats? He barks at her like she's his child. It's so awkward to watch. He really does parent her. It's awful. She's just simply trying to say hi to the dog. So she's just kind of like, running around trying to give it a little squeeze, give it a little hug. And so the dog kind of barks a little bit because he's not in the mood to be chased right now. And Slade's like, seriously, come on, what are you doing? And then Slade says, she's a rescue dog, so she doesn't really like to be chased. And just as a simple joke, Joe says, well, if I fall, will she rescue me? She's just being silly. She's just trying to have a good time. You make those corny little jokes if you're like with grandparents or anything like that. It's just something we do. We have nothing to relate to them about. We can't talk about, certain things. So it's like she's just being goofy and silly and just trying to have fun. Slade is instantly embarrassed, humiliated, and this is going to come back up later in the episode. Next, we're with Kimberly. In the beginning of her scene here, she's just taking a walk with her husband through the park, and she just kind of has a talking head. If you remember in the last episode, she did get a biopsy for a mole, and it did come back malignant, so she's waiting on the results for that, having it looked at farther. But in the meantime, she's just trying to keep herself busy and just spend time with her kids. So her daughter Bianca did really well, and we don't talk about her kids that much. There's not a big focus on them, which I really appreciate, and I think it should be that way in these shows. I would prefer that no one had their kids on. Not that I don't love to see them or anything, but it's just a little weird. They're going through their growing pains and it's on national television. I don't love that. But anyway, Bianca is doing super good in school. So as a little special prize for her, a little treat, her mom is letting her have a sleepover at a hotel room, which I remember I didn't have birthday parties like that growing up, but I went to a few birthday parties where it's like you get a hotel room and you guys all like stay in the beds. And that's like so fun. Such a cute idea. So she's getting that as a little treat for doing good in school. She's going to invite 3 friends. They're going to just go to dinner and then go in the hot tub. And it's just a fun little girls trip. I love that. I think that's such a cute idea. Now we're with Lori, and she is having a little beach day with Josh and Sophie and I don't want to say her partner, but that man that we met like last episode who's kind of her right-hand guy. Oh my gosh, we have some rocky roads headed our way with this guy, by the way, so stay tuned for that. But they're having a little beach day, and it's so good to see Josh out. He's got his little boogie board with him. I miss boogie boarding. I haven't boogie boarded in the longest time. There is a little awkward moment. They're at the parking lot, and they have to pay for parking by putting money into this little machine and getting a ticket out. So Lori gives Josh $4 or $3, something like that, to pay for their parking spot. So he walks up to the machine and he's putting the cash in and the ticket's not printing out. So then Lori's like, what's going on? Whatever. She walks up and she's like, oh gosh, he probably pocketed the money. She gets up to the ticket booth thing and he's like, the ticket won't print out. And she's like, did you take the money, Josh? Like, did you pocket it? Like, seriously? And he's like, I wouldn't just steal $3 from you, which, I mean, when you're a kid and you don't have any money, you can find some use of $3, But he swears he didn't do it. And then little Sophie comes in and with her little hand, she's able to pull the ticket out and it shows that Josh did in fact put the money in the machine. So I think that is super great. I felt bad for Josh in that moment. But of course, when you've probably been caught stealing, it makes sense why you're not trusted right now. So awkward moment, but hopefully that doesn't ruin our beach day. Now we're back with Joe Slade. Joe Slade and his parents are walking up to a furniture store. I don't know why they're doing this while his parents are in town. Why would he drag them to a furniture store? That house is bare bones, in my opinion. I think he's trying to furnish it real quick or make it look a little nicer with his parents there. I don't know. This just doesn't seem like a fun activity for his parents to be a part of. I mean, they're like on vacation, like going to an expensive furniture store. Does he just want them to see that he can afford these items? Like, I don't know. It's a weird thing. But anyway, as they're walking up to the store, Slade refers to his parents as the Clampetts, and Joe goes, who are the Clampetts? And once again, his mom has this sassy remark. She's like, did she seriously just ask that? Do you not know who the Clampetts are? I take it she does not care for Joe. And I don't think that's ever said in the show, but she does not like her. Oh my gosh, she really kind of is treating her like a dum-dum. And I think that's kind of mean because Joe's just trying to engage, trying to be friendly and funny and goofy, and this mama is not having any of it. Slade, just being the bragger that he is, literally in the store to the camera while he's holding his mom and dad and Joe there. They're all lined up and he's talking to the camera and he says, because I have this Black American Express card, they're able to shut down the whole store for us tonight. And I'm just like, oh my God, you're so like, but what's the purpose of that? I don't get it. So they're talking to the salesperson and he's like, I just want big, grandiose, gaudy pieces. I have a huge house. Joe's like, yeah, just we want it to look good. We don't care if it's comfortable. And Slade's parents are just standing there like in shock and bewilderment because who doesn't want their furniture to be comfortable? Oh my God. So they're just kind of walking around the store, picking out all this gaudy furniture. I'm going to see if any new furniture actually pops up in that damn house because I don't believe that they bought anything here today. I just get that feeling from Slade. But while they're walking around, they play a talking head that his father had filmed earlier, and he says he just does not quite understand why someone like Joe would be with Slade. He says, I hope it works out. I hope it lasts because she's a great girl, but I think that they have some problems headed their way. So it's interesting that he, picked up on that. It could just be the age difference. It could be that, he has kids that are not Joe's and she's a little young. I don't know, but he picked up on something. Now we're back with Lori and Lorelai there at the salon, and actually Lori's son is tagging along as well. Looks like he gets his hair done too. Maybe some more baby lights or something in there. Got to freshen his do up, but they are getting their hair and makeup done for the party later at the Playboy Mansion. So they have the big bouncy hair, smoky eyes, all that good stuff. So yay, their photos were accepted. They were good enough to be within Hugh Hefner's presence. I mean, just bleh, so gross. But I don't want to take away that earned credit for Lori either. 3 kids, divorce later. She's a little bit older than a lot of the people at the party, I'm sure. Not Hef, but, a lot of his girlfriends. So, huge kudos to her. She still got it, clearly. We're back at Lorelai's house. I don't even know if I can show clips of this in the video. I'll do as much as I can, but they are getting ready for the Playboy party. So they're putting on their lingerie and just picking out these little outfits, literally little outfits. And they're all excited. So good for them. Lori could use a little fun. She's been through hell lately. Now it is the next day. We unfortunately don't get to see inside the party. I would have loved to seen a few photos of them there. If I can find any online, I will post them, but I don't know if I'll be able to find any. So Lori's back at home. She's just telling her daughter all about the party the night before. And Ashley's actually really supportive. She's like, hey, why not? If my mom's got it, go for it. But she does want to come along next year. Lori's like, I'm going to have to think about that one. And then Ashley's like, well, if you're not going to take me with you, I'll try to get in on my own. That is a horrifying statement. It's oh my God, she is over 18. Technically, she could probably try and go alone, which is terrifying. So now we're with Kimberly, and she is taking her daughter and her daughter's friends to the St. Regis for their glamorous sleepover. And the St. Regis is right on the beach. So the girls can actually literally just walk down the stairs onto the beach, which is so cool. I hate to sound like one of these people. I actually hate that I'm about to say this. What I first noticed about this scene is the girls are just running into the water. It's late at night. They're kind of just feeling the sand. There's not a phone in sight. There's no phone. There's no TikToking. There's no Snapchatting. They are literally just playing. Even at this age, they're just having fun outside, just being girls, enjoying the beach at night with your besties, making memories is what they're doing. And I don't know, I just thought it was really sweet to see, even though the rest of the night is going to be a little chaotic. So the girls all headed back to the room. They're going to order room service, and Kimberly is stepping out with her bestie to have a drink at the bar, or one of her besties, Suzanne. I don't think we ever see Suzanne again, but anyway, she's going to go have a drink and let the girls be in the room by themselves. So the room service has come. The girls are eating their dinner, and one of them picks up the phone, and they're going to start prank calling the hotel. The first question that they ask them is, it's just silly little girl question. She's like, just for future reference, how many bathrooms are in this hotel total? They're just grilling the front desk over and over and over with these ridiculous questions, just being kids, And then another one of her friends does a prank call, and she asks the front desk if she can hear a story. She would like to hear the rabbit in the hair, always a classic. Or the tortoise in the hair. I'm sorry, it's the tortoise in the hair. And then the other one calls and in a British accent says, "Excuse me, mister, I'd love to know what time the pool closed." Then the hotel calls back and it is hotel security and the girls are shitting themselves. They want to talk to an adult, so they're all like passing the phone around to each other because there's no adult there. Bianca kind of pretended to be an adult. Her friend was like, "Just say you're Mrs. Bryant." So Bianca grabs the phone and is like, "Hello." Like she's clearly trying to sound like an adult, but she doesn't. So they're freaking out because they are sending security down to the room and an adult needs to be there to talk to them. So she's like, "Give me your cell phone." They have to call Kimberly. So the girls are freaking the fuck out. Bianca calls her mom and she's like, "Hi, you need to get here right away because security is coming down to the room. They're bringing an officer and we didn't even do anything wrong. We didn't do anything at all. We don't know what this is about, but get here immediately." So Bianca's lying her ass off as if her mom's not going to figure out what happened in like 2 seconds. She hangs up and they're just panicking. They're like, "What are we going to do? Like, we didn't do anything that bad. Were we rude? Like, honestly, we were just kidding." Like, they're just freaking out. So then they come up with their excuse. Their little plan is to say that they were doing a survey for school. So it's not the worst, but it's not the best. So then the hotel room doorbell rings, which, wow, St. Regis. I've never stayed, but apparently they have doorbells on the hotel rooms. Super fancy. The guy's like, "Hello," when she opens the door and she's like, "Hi, my mom's coming. It's just us, but my mom's on her way. Do you want to come in?" And he goes, "No, I do not." So good for him on saying that. He should not come in. And then Kimberly, oh my gosh, she actually doesn't believe that her daughters were prank calling. She's like, "I know these girls. I know my daughter. They would not be doing this." So it's like, oh my God, yes, they would. It's a slumber party. What do you think they're doing? So then the girls confess to Kimberly that they did in fact do it. And Kimberly thinks it's funny. She's just laughing, but she does make the right choice, or she tells them, "You need to go downstairs and you need to apologize." And the girls all agree. So that was the right, responsible thing to do. They're going to go apologize to the hotel for their little slumber party prank calls. Now we're with Vicky in Chicago, her hometown of Chicago. She is there for her little high school reunion, and she is actually staying with her sister. She says she tries to, or she's learned to stay either at a hotel or with her sister because when she's with her mom, it causes a lot of conflict. And she's in the kitchen talking to her sister about how her mom is always aggravated with her. It seems like her mom doesn't really approve of her current lifestyle, or she thinks that Vicky has just become too consumed with her money. I don't know. I don't know why she's not just proud of Vicky, but her mom doesn't like the boobs and the hair, the blonde hair and the eyelashes, and like she just doesn't like this glamorous side of Vicky. I don't know. I think that's crazy. I think her daughter is so successful. She should be nothing but proud, but I think her mom kind of wants her to return back to her roots, which is just weird. So later in the day, we meet Vicky's mom. Her and Vicky are driving around and they're going to go see Vicky's first house. It's a house that was actually repossessed. So I'm sure it's really special for Vicky to see that, and probably really hard too. But it just shows how far she's come. She owns 2 homes, both over $1 million. Super successful. And yeah, so to see her old house, I'm sure is probably pretty crazy. Her mom seems sweet. I mean, she just seems almost intimidated by Vicky. She just doesn't really understand her. Vicky's saying, she's only got an hour. She can't be late. She's going to that reunion. And then her mom, in a weird way, is kind of like, "Well, who cares if you're late? Like, just be late." I don't know. It's very strange. Her mom actually has a talking head, and she's kind of like, Vicky used to be more down to earth. She was more like us. And then in the car, she's telling Vicky her hair's too blonde. The ends of her hair look dry. She's bleaching it too much. It looks a little yellow. Like, I don't know. Her energy is just very off. If your daughter comes out to visit and you hardly see her, I would hope you wouldn't just criticize her the entire time. So now Vicky is at her high school reunion. It's just at a bar. Again, I don't know why spouses weren't welcome, but probably so they could all just like kiss each other, because Vicky walks in, she immediately sees this guy, she runs to him, jumps in his arms, puts her legs fully around him, and kisses him on the lips. Not for a long time, but she just smooches him right on the freaking mouth. Okay. And she's just running up to all these guys and like just loving on them, and oh my god, this night was super cringe and hard to watch because poor little Dawn's back home and she's just holding on to all these men and they're holding her like this, like they got her in their arms and she's like just pushing into them. It is really uncomfortable to watch. I don't know, maybe this is okay in her relationship. I don't like to judge. I don't know what's okay for them or not. For me, I wouldn't care for it. And then, oh my god, Vicky Vicky then makes this comment and says, if Dawn was not in the picture, there are definitely some guys here that I would be calling. And I'm like, Vicky, you got out of your small town. Don't go back to these small town men. It's like, that's what she can't kick. It doesn't matter how successful Vicky is, how much money she has. She's like drawn to these good old boys. Like she is drawn to this type of person. But then she gets them back home and it's like she's annoyed with them. She's annoyed with simpletons like back in California. So I don't know what her deal is. And no one here is cute. So I don't know what she's going nutso over. I mean, and Vicky is just drunk off her ass. I'm telling you, she is kissing everybody. She is kissing everybody. She's just hanging on them, just boobies out. It is a sight to see. So if you remember Vicky and Dawn, we're talking about this Bob character. Vicky spots Bob and she's running to him and she's like, Bob, Bob, Bob. This is the guy she dated through the entire length of high school for 4 years total. And they were in love and they were inseparable. And it's interesting because it reminds me a lot of how she kind of looks at Bree. She doesn't want Bree stuck with her high school sweetheart forever. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic to see Vicky's still crazy about this Bob guy. So anyway, she's running up to him and Bob grabs these drinks and he's running because he's like, no, I refuse to be on camera. I refuse to be on camera. Like he really doesn't want to be filmed, which is understandable, but very, it's weird because Vicky is chasing him. And then Vicky goes, you dumped me for Robin Nelson. Like, oh my God. Vicky, get out of high school. Now we're back with Joe and Slade. His parents have gone. They went back to Alaska. And so they are going to have a date night out. This is a rocky night, okay? They're out to dinner. You can already almost tell that the vibe is a little off. I don't know what it is. They're on the beautiful beach, overlooking the water, having dinner, having drinks. And Slade's like, you seem tired today. And Joe's like, I was a little tired today. Like when a conversation starts off with like tiredness, it's just not going to be a good one. So their food comes and their drinks come and Slade takes a drink of his. Joe goes and takes a drink of hers. And then he goes, baby, go easy on that. And it's just like, it literally just got sat down on the table and you just had a drink too. Like, relax, get off of her jock for like a minute. So now Slade's ready to just go ahead and get into it, right? He wants to fight and he wants to make her feel bad because he's a horrible person. So he goes, can I ask you a question? And you have to promise not to get mad. And it's like, oh my fucking God. Seriously, it's a date night. Like, do you have to do this? So Joe says, like, I mean, when you say that, I can't really promise that I'm not going to get mad. I know that I'm going to get mad. So he says, why, when we're around other people, do you play the role of the silly ding-dong? Again, another moment where he's alluding to the fact that he thinks she's stupid or that she pretends to be stupid when she's just being goofy. It's like, what do you want her to do? She can't be silly at all. So Joe's clearly annoyed and she just goes, I like being a silly ding dong. It's fun. Like, she's just like, shut the fuck up, And then he goes, but I know better. I know you're not a silly ding dong. And it's like, what the fuck conversation is this? Like, he's like, Ditzy is just so irritating. And he's like, it's not the girl I fell in love with. And I find that really hard to believe. I actually think it's exactly who he fell in love with. And then he decided that in like the 2 years that they've known each other, he expected her to be the silly, flirty girl in the first year. And then after the engagement, he expected her to be like super serious. I mean, who doesn't love to be silly? I'm silly all day with my husband. If he ever expected me not to be silly, that would be a huge red flag. And it is. That's crazy. And Slade's going on like, don't you just want people to respect you? And it's like, I doubt she's ditzy at work. She restarted her career. Yes, she wants those things, but when she's in the comfort of her own home, she likes to be silly. Like, get off her ass. So then Joe says this line that I love. She's said it a few times this season. She holds up her drink and she goes, what's wrong with this picture? And then Slade rolls his eyes and he's like, it's empty. And she's like, how could we fix this? And I'm like, good for you. Get another drink because you're going to need it. This night is not looking good for you. So one of Joe's besties actually manages the restaurant that they're at right now. And she sends her over this giant fishbowl drink. And Slade is trying to act cool with it to the waiter, but he is fuming that she has this alcohol. He like clearly doesn't like that she drinks. It's whatever. Maybe she drinks too much. I don't know, but he took her out to a date night at a bar. She's having some drinks, you know? So Slade's pissed about this giant drink. He's like, you know, you don't have to drink it all. You don't. He's like, you can actually show a bit of maturity and choose not to drink that entire drink. Joe goes to him and she's like, are you going to play dad again? Like, yeah, get off her ass. If she wants to drink the whole thing, she's gonna. Like, deal with it. Joe says to Slade, I'm not immature. You always say I have a lot of growing up to do. Which, imagine, like, your partner saying that to you. Ugh. And Joe says, you met me. I was this 24-year-old girl who loved to party. That's who I was, and I thought you accepted that. And Slade says, well, I kind of expected you to change by now. Which is fair enough. You probably did expect her to grow out of it, but she's just not done. She's just not done going out, having fun. So Joe asks, why should I change? Why did you expect me to change? And he goes, well, because you have a family, because you have kids, because you have a home, you have a list of responsibilities. Oh, this conversation is painful because it's not that I don't understand Slade's point, but Slade knows who Joe is and who she was when he met her only like a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's not been that long. It's not her fault that she doesn't have kids and that she didn't have to grow up as fast as Slade did. And he should have known that. When you propose to the hot party girl, she's probably going to be a hot party girl for a little bit longer. It's just the way it is. So Joe says flat out, I don't want responsibilities. I don't want to be a role model. I'm only 24. Slade says, being 24, he's like, that excuse is so old. It doesn't matter. We're taking a break from that. We are back with Kimberly. They are going to the oncologist to find out her results. They come out of the appointment, and thank goodness, everything came back a-okay. She is totally fine right now. So I'm so happy for Kimberly. I know that's... I don't know. I don't know that stress. That is so scary. So now, weird order here. We're popping back over to Joe and Slade. Joe's trying to lighten the mood. She's like, this is good. Like, take a sip. And he's like, no. And she's like, please, just take a sip. And he's like, no. And she goes, why do you have to be so uptight all the time? Like, just take a sip. And he refuses. So now we're getting to Slade's actual issue. He goes, how many times are you out with the girls and guys try to talk to you? He's like, oh my God, he's like 16. This is like what my boyfriend did when I was like 16 years old. And oh my God, can I tell you guys something really fast? I know I go off on these tangents, but this is actually very therapeutic for me. I get things out that have bothered me my whole life. When I was a sophomore in high school, and I did go to a Christian high school. So a few of the boys, it was a weird system, you guys, but a few of the boys were selling the What Would Jesus Do bracelets. Like, they kind of look like those Live Strong bracelets, but they were WWJD. They were selling them. And so I bought one and put it on. And my boyfriend at the time, I'm not kidding you. Actually, if I would have married this guy, something bad would have happened because this man is not okay today. I'm still sure of it. He saw that I bought that bracelet from this other guy and wore it, and he sat next to me right in social studies, and we had round tables at my school. We didn't have desks, we had like round tables. He pulled it back as hard as he could and smacked me with it, and I had a welt on my hand for a long time. He was so pissed. He cut up my bracelet, and I never had one again, and I was so upset, and I was like in trouble with him for the longest time, and I had to like earn back his good graces. So I think that's why I have such a problem with Slade. He reminds me of like my high school sophomore year boyfriend who was a psychopath in the making, okay? Ugh! The way Slade is looking at her is so scary. Joe's like just you can see her trying to escape and leave her body because he has completely ruined date night. This is the worst date night. It's not a date night. This is a lecture night. And he goes, you're out all night talking to strange men, and what do you know? You always end up with their business card because maybe they're going to call you about business. He's so condescending to her. It's so freaking aggravating. He's like, maybe they want to refinance. And she's like, Slade, stop. Like, please stop. Like, oh my gosh. Joe goes, I'm not cheating. Everyone knows that I'm engaged. I always wear my ring. That's all that matters. And he's just huffing and puffing over there. He wants to like keep her in the attic. He wants to keep her in a closet and never let her out. So then Joe hits back. She goes, the man I fell in love with, just FYI, was confident and secure with himself. Slade's face. He is fuming. Joe's like, you just, every time there's alcohol involved, you play this insecure act. You put this on. It's so weird. And he goes, you want to know why? And Joe's like, why? And he goes, because alcohol affects everything to the point where you don't even remember my proposal to you. And Joe goes, Slade, it was New Year's Eve. I'm not saying New Year's Eve isn't a special time to get engaged. I actually think that's so freaking cute. But damn, like, the girl didn't know she was going to get proposed to, and New Year's Eve is like the biggest party night of the year. Like, sorry she was a little drunk. If that was bothering you, maybe hold off for the night and propose on New Year's Day. I don't think that's fair to hold that against her. She didn't know she would get engaged. It's really not her fault. So Joe leaves the table for a minute. She's got to like cool off. So she goes and finds her bestie, Lindsay, who is managing the restaurant. And she's like, I just had to get away for a few minutes because I'm going to lose it on him. So Lindsay's like, oh my gosh, you guys came all the way here and you're just arguing. And she says, listen, me and Jillian or somebody are going to go out for a glass of wine after this if you want to come. And Joe's like, yep, I'm probably going to have to because this is annoying. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. We are here for a long night. So then Joe gets back to the table and she tells him that she might go out with the girls for a drink after this. Probably not the best choice to tell Slade or to do after a fight about your drinking. Not saying that she's wrong for going out, but yikes. Slade is such a piece of shit. I'm sorry. So then Joe's sitting there all sad, right? And she's drinking her little drink and he goes, I find the girl that fits so perfectly into my life. She is so perfect for me, but I can't have her because she's 24 and still wants to drink and party. And it's like, yeah, she's 24. She didn't ever fit perfectly into your life. You have children. She wasn't ready to be a stepmother. She wasn't ready to be a wife. She wasn't ready to be a stay-at-home mom. She never fit perfectly. You just, like, she was a good time for you at one point. Oh God, I hate Slade. I hate Slade. I hate him. Joe simply says, date night's over. Slade gets up and he walks out and he leaves. So Joe just heads to the bar that's in the restaurant to wait for her friend to get off of work. And she just keeps on drinking. She's ready to have a good time. She's, this is still what she wants in life. That's her choice. And now Joe's crying at the bar. She's sad. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. I think she does really love Slade. I think she loves the boys. But her truth is her truth. She's not ready to just be a stay-at-home mom. She wants this still. And if it doesn't work for Slade, it is what it is. The next day, Joe is driving. They make a point to show the back of Joe's car. It's a license plate that clearly says like Slade Smiley or it's SL Smiley or something like that, just to show that she is driving Slade's car because it's going to come up in the finale. And Joe says that when Slade walked out on her at the restaurant last night, he walked out on their engagement and the engagement is off. It's over. She's given back the ring. They're no longer engaged. And that is how the episode ends, you guys. And this next episode right now that we're getting into is the season finale. So buckle up. So our season 1 Real Housewives finale episode opens with Gina and her kids. All the kids are there. Shane walks in with a shopping bag. He is actually leaving for college today, I'm pretty sure, or at least in this episode. And he has this shopping bag. He pulls out this horrible shirt and it says Buck Fuddy instead of F Buddy. It says Buck Fuddy. It is just a corny college shirt. What else would you expect? The shirts Alok wore in college were so embarrassing, you guys. College shirts are just the absolute worst, are they not? The ones that men used to wear. Hopefully they're not wearing them anymore. It's also an interesting choice for Shane the Virgin, who has a lot of things to say about not being interested in women. So maybe he's decided college is the place where he's going to sow his wild oats. And this is the shirt that's going to get him in. I don't know. Gina is feeling a little guilty that she has spent so much time getting Shane ready for college. And so she's decided to take Cara for a diamond shopping experience. I guess there's this thing where a diamond company or a jeweler will rent a big party bus and invite a bunch of women on the bus to go shopping for diamonds, I guess. So Gina and her daughter are going. Lori's going, as well as Vicky. So fun little girls' diamond shopping day. Vicky is so excited. She says it's like a Tupperware party for millionaires. So go, Vicky. Lori's excited to go, but she's super honest. She says, like, I've been doing better at work. I did get a little settlement money from my ex, but to be honest, I'm out of my league here. I probably shouldn't be going to this diamond party. So I appreciate her honesty. So Gina buys Cara these beautiful diamond earrings. She says her birthday's coming up. It's her first piece of really nice jewelry, so she's really excited to give them to her. Vicky finds a necklace for $40,000. She really, really wants it, but she also makes a comment that she'd rather spend the money on like her wedding ring that she wears every single day. So I don't know if she ends up taking that. Lori, however, finds herself a nice necklace and some earrings. Definitely more affordable than the $40,000 pieces that everyone else is buying. Her necklace only costs about $1,000, and same with the matching earrings. So I'm happy that Lori got to experience this type of kind of luxury, and I'm glad she found something in her budget. That's totally fine. So yay, Lori. Now we are with Joe and Kimberly. They're at the tennis courts. It's been a while since we've seen them out on the tennis court together. They actually have a match to play between some of the other women in Kodo. These other women are extremely good and extremely competitive. So Joe and Kimberly walk up and they're kind of like watching from a distance, and you can just see they're like, okay, we can't do this. So they back out of the match. I don't even know if they tell them or if these women are like waiting on them, but they decide to not play. They just go and grab a table and chill. That's what I would do at a tennis club. So they're sitting down. Joe breaks the news to Kimberly that her and Slade have broken up. They have called off the engagement. Kimberly, I don't think is surprised at all, but she puts on a good front. Then we see Slade at the gym for a minute, and he says that after the date night, Joe came home and she slept in a separate bedroom, and she got up super early, packed her bags, and she texted him and said, guess we're done. Pack up my stuff and I will pick it up ASAP. So yikes. And Joe then brings up something that, yeah, is pretty messy. It's the fact that she lives in Slade's house. She drives Slade's car. He pays for her entire life. And so it's kind of this weird gray area where they're not technically married, but they have everything together. Their stuff is together, even though I'm sure a lot of it is just Slade's. Technically, if we're going to get like legal about it. So I guess it's lucky that Joe got that job when she did, because I think she's going to need the money. Seems like a nightmare. Kimberly is really actually supportive. She's a really supportive person for Joe right now. And she says, why don't you guys try couples therapy? You know, she's giving her ideas. And then Joe says, I feel really bad because you and I were supposed to have our birthday parties together. I don't know that I can do that anymore, but I'll still come. So I think we have that in this episode as well. I don't know how the breakup affects them having a birthday party together, but whatever. Now we are with Lori, and she is watching Steve play a little show, a little music show. He's in a band, or he's a performing artist. And Steve actually has a talking head about how he cares for Lori a lot. They care for each other a lot. They support each other a lot. And they clearly do. We've seen him in almost every episode with Lori. So, I don't know when it's coming. I don't want to spoil it yet, but we have some hard times with Steve in this episode. Now, this little show he's putting on is a benefit of some sort, and they put it on way too early, so like no one's here, and I feel really bad about that. I mean, I think it said 7:20, 7 o'clock is this benefit where he's performing at this like bar. I mean, people are getting out of work, plus traffic. Oh my gosh, California traffic. I don't know how anyone would get there on time. It really does seem way too early, so I feel really bad about that. Now we're with Slade and his friend. They're at some type of cigar lounge, grabbing a drink, smoking cigars. I guess it's okay for Slade to drink, but not for Joe. And he's just breaking the news to his friend that they have broken up. And Slade's just giving his same old, woe is me, my life is so perfect and everything would be so perfect and Joe's so perfect if only she would stop going out with her girlfriends. Like, what do you want as a partner? Do you want like a living, breathing human, or would you prefer like a pet or like a robot, or maybe a cardboard cutout would work perfectly for Slade? It could be home all day. Probably couldn't clean up very much, but you can hire a maid service for that. I think maybe a blow-up doll. Maybe a blow-up doll would fit perfectly for Slade. Just side note, Slade doesn't know how to smoke cigars and it makes me uncomfortable to watch. Anyway, now we're back with Joe. She's in the garage of Slade's house and he has all her shit in boxes and it's just thrown in boxes. Not that I'm saying that he should have done a nicer job for her. He's pissed off. It probably wasn't going to be a nice pack, but there are things just falling out of the boxes. It's a pretty shitty situation. I also wonder how she's going to get these boxes out of here. It's not like she brought a U-Haul with her. So that part I'm like, interesting. So now Slade pulls up in his big ass Hummer and he's saying like, what are you doing? I thought you were going to wait till I got home to do this. Like he's freaking out that she's like leaving. He's like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Joe's not really answering. She's just kind of taking clothes out of the boxes and trying to fit them in the trunk of her car. Then she says, we've talked about this a million kabillion times. Her words, not mine. And she says, we've broken up a million kabillion times, which I didn't know. I didn't know that over a course of a year and a half, they've broken up a million kabillion times. We definitely didn't see that. This is the first official breakup that we've seen. Slade says, so as far as you're concerned, we're just done then. Joe says, you're the one who walked out on dinner, not me. By the way, I'm sure there's a purpose for these, but as this fight is happening, there's these, like, body dummies on a shelf behind Slade. I can't help but imagine that those are real because of who Slade is. That's not fair. He's not, to my knowledge, ever murdered anyone. However, I don't find it hard to believe that those would be real sitting on his shed. I don't know why these bodies are up there. It's weird. They don't look like costumes. They're bald. They're in normal clothing. Joe says, obviously my behavior isn't acceptable for you, so go find somebody with different behavior. Fair enough. So Slade walks away for a minute. He comes back with a screwdriver. Remember, Joe is driving Slade's car, technically. Slade, being the piece of shit, controlling, psychologically at least, abusive person that he is, starts unscrewing the license plates. So she can't leave, so that he can get her in trouble for driving without a license plate. Who knows? To be petty, but I'm taking it as so that she can't leave. He is so toxic. He's a toxic person. Unscrewing her license plates. Joe starts crying. She's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he's like, we have to discuss this at some point. So he is clearly trying to keep her here hostage. Joe says, I'm not doing this right now. She hops in the driver's seat and she is speeding off. So Joe goes flying out and Slade is pissed. He is scary pissed. So he jumps in his Hummer, freaking backs out at like lightning speed, speeds out of the back of his driveway. He runs over his rose bushes. He's gonna have to call the freaking landscaper again because he just drove over his flower bushes. There are flowers all over the street because he just rammed his giant ass Hummer through the flower bush, okay? There's flowers everywhere and he is chasing after Joe. This is so horrible and unhealthy and so scary. Thank God to our knowledge, he didn't actually ever harm her. Like these situations don't always end well for women especially. This is a scary scenario. So now Slade is back home. He's just sitting on his steps, just his staircase, just looking like a little sorry sap. And he gets up and he calls Joe. He leaves her a voicemail and he says, I'm sorry. I wanted an opportunity to talk to you. So I tried to hold you captive or risk you getting in trouble with the law. No, he doesn't say all that, but he does say, I'm sorry. I just wanted the opportunity to talk to you. And then he leaves her another voicemail. He calls again. He says, hey, please call me back. This man is like losing it. He can feel himself losing control over Joe and he is in full on panic mode. Okay. Oh my God. I hate this. And the whole time he's just pacing around the kitchen. He's just walking around the house. Then he goes and he calls her again. He leaves her another voicemail as if she didn't get the first few. He's applying pressure. He's trying to make her give in. And then much to my dismay, much to my annoyance, who comes in the door but Joe? And I understand, this is probably hard for her. She's scared. She knows he pays for her car. She lives with him. For her to venture out in the world, it's not just her getting out on her own. It's her also needing all those other things that Slade was unfortunately providing for her. So she walks in the door. She just is bawling. She goes, Slade, I'm sorry. And they just embrace each other. And we are back with Slade. So this breakup didn't last that long. They're both just hugging and crying and kissing each other and just, I hate to see it. But Joe does not end up with Slade, so it's all good. They go and sit on those steps again, and Joe's crying and saying she tried to be perfect. She tried to be everything Slade wanted. She tried to be a good housewife, a good mother. And Slade's like, you're a great mother. You're a great housewife. So I guess now we're taking back everything we said. I don't know. Now we are at Lori's house, and Ashley has moved out. She took all of her things and she left. We've come to find out that Lori and Ashley have been fighting over the past few weeks. Ashley was involving herself in Lori's personal business. Lori felt that Ashley was overstepping her bounds, so they got in a huge fight, and Ashley left. And then it's coming out that it's about Steve. Ashley did not like Steve at all. It just sounds like the kids really dislike Steve, and that really upsets Lori. And I'm sad to find out that Ashley moved out, because we find some more information out about Steve in this episode. And if that's what Ashley and her mom were fighting about, I would be really offended if Lori didn't take Ashley's side. If Ashley really moved out because Lori didn't understand Ashley's point of view, that would really be upsetting. And what's crazy is, so Lori's talking to Josh, and Josh is like, none of us really like Steve. We don't really want him around, and that's why she left. And Lori's like, I just don't want you guys getting involved in my personal life. And Josh says, well, it's not your personal life, Mom. You bring it here. You bring Steve here. So all of his problems come here too, that we all have to deal with it. And we are a family. And it's crazy when the parenting dynamic kind of flips. This is an area where, I hate to say it, but I feel like Lori's a little immature. I feel like she's a little protective over her mates or her partners at the time. I understand her needing something for herself, and this guy helps out Lori a lot. So this is probably really painful and hard for her to choose, but choose your kids, choose your kids. So now we get to the root of the problem, okay? Lori opens up about the fact that when she first met Steve, he had a drug problem. She says, Steve went away to rehab, he completed his treatment, and then I let him back into my life. So I can understand the kids being really, really concerned, especially when Josh is in such a vulnerable place. You want him to stay clean. We don't know what drugs Josh was using, but we don't want that around him. And God, it's so hard looking at this. I'm not saying it's Lori's fault, but it's hard to look at this situation here and know that Josh is still struggling with drugs to this day. It's really awful how long drugs have kind of been a part of his life, either if he was doing them or if someone around him was doing them. Lori says, my kids are not going to tell me who I am and who I'm not going to date. And I really hate that. I don't know. If your kids don't like someone, and it's not for petty reasons, it's for serious reasons, I hope I would listen. Now we're at Gina's, and Shane is packing for college. He is leaving today. I hate how this family talks to Gina, and I'm sorry, but it is so apparent that their father, in my opinion, and we do get into this in a later season, talks to Gina so poorly because her kids do it. He tells his mom, shut up, shut your mouth. And Gina kind of sits there and takes it from her son. And it breaks my freaking heart. I know they love their mother, and I know she loves them. God, if I ever told my mom to shut up, oh my God, I can't imagine what would happen to me. I could never do that, ever, ever, ever. And I hope my children never do that to me. That would break my heart. And all of her kids do it, except Colton. I've never seen him be really, really mean to Gina. But Cara and Shane have freaking attitudes for their mom, and they say some pretty awful things to her. Say bitch and shut up and shut your mouth. It makes me cringe so hard. But anyway, Shane's going off to college. Now we're with Vicky. Vicky is nagging Michael because he's heading back off to school too. She's just, he's packing and she's just being Vicky. Then she's walking with Brianna, her golden child. Let's not kid ourselves. Brianna is everything to Vicky. And so Vicky's just trying to have a nice little walk with her and get some last moments in with Bri. And I do sympathize with Vicky. I can't imagine my cat's going somewhere. So for my children to be going to college, I'm sure I'll be a nightmare. So now we're with Kimberly. This is like her end of summer birthday party situation. This is the party she was supposed to share with Joe, but for whatever reason, and maybe Joe just wasn't in the birthday mood. I don't know. I don't know why Joe wouldn't have kept it her birthday still, but regardless, everyone's here to celebrate just Kimberly, and everyone's like, where is Joe? What's going on? And Kimberly spills the beans and says that her and Slade have broken up. So now, Lori takes Vicky aside. Vicky, all the girls are here. Gina, Vicky, Lori, Kimberly, obviously, no Joe. But Lori takes Vicky aside and she says, I have to talk to you about something. And Vicky's like, more drama? And Lori's like, always. So Lori takes Vicky aside and says, remember how I was telling you about Steve and like his past drug problem and that I cut him out of my life? She says, but he completed the rehab program and so I invited him to start doing things with the family again. Lori's like, well, we did a little trip to Mexico with Josh and everyone. So they must have not filmed this because I don't remember them going to Mexico, but they took a little trip to Mexico. So Josh told Lori that he had spotted Steve buying drugs in Mexico. And Lori, this is, I bet, exactly what the fight with Ashley is about. Lori says that when Josh told her that he had caught Steve buying drugs in Mexico, that Lori didn't believe Josh. She thought Josh was lying. And that makes my heart break for freaking Josh, because I just feel like Lori will go to the ends of the earth to protect Steve, including, calling her children liars, having one literally move out because she's so mad at you for whatever. I mean, we still technically don't know what Ashley moved out for, but I'm sure this is it. She wouldn't believe her own child. I get that Josh has problems, but I don't think he'd want to hurt his mom either, So Lori didn't believe him at first. Lori said that Josh said, Mom, I will literally take a polygraph test. I am not lying. Mind you, Josh just got out of juvie, okay? He just got out of a really dangerous, bad situation. You should be keeping him away from these things, and you're fighting with him on this? I just can't believe, just with her son being in such a vulnerable position, for even just a whiff of drug talk, even a suspicion, for someone you're not married to, I would kick them to the curb. The priority number one is Josh and your other children. So anyway, Steve copped to it. He said it was true. And so then Lori kicked him out. And I feel bad for Lori. I know she loves Steve. And I know people, they get involved with drugs and they're still people at the end of the day. I always hope for a good turnout with anyone in recovery, and it does happen. But when you have kids, it's a tricky situation, it just, especially one who's straight out of juvie and has had problem with drugs on his own. And Vicky's giving her really good advice. Vicky's like, listen, you need to change what you're doing. You're going to keep going back towards this dysfunctional life. You're going to keep repeating this. You need to put up big boundaries, big standards. No more of this. Get away from it. Change your life course, really. Vicky's advice here is very, very good. One thing I want to say, I have a suspicion that what Steve was buying was only marijuana. So for that, I would hate to call him a drug addict, or I hate even using the term drug for marijuana, because Lori does say it was legal in Mexico. So I'm like, is it just pot? I don't know. And if that's the case, I feel bad for all of this. I feel bad for everybody. Most importantly, Josh, because I'm pretty sure he only ever got caught at this time with marijuana. So then Lori asks, where's Joe? And Kimberly says, well, I don't know. She said she might bring a date. And everyone's like, what? Because not everybody knows that they're broke up yet. And Vicky says, is she bringing Slade? And Kimberly's like, I don't know. I think maybe they broke up on date night. By the way, Lori, her fucking smile is goes up to her ears when she hears that Slade and Joe have broken up. She goes, oh, wow. I can't believe that. They were such a beautiful couple. Clock that. Pay attention to that, because I believe it comes up either in the reunion, which really isn't a reunion because it's the first reunion ever. It's kind of, there's no Andy Cohen. It's kind of them just talking about the season. Or it comes up in season 2, Lori and Slade. I can't remember which, but it comes up again. So everyone's going around buzzing about Joe and Slade. Vicky's like, I called it. Lori's like, I'm so shocked. Everyone's talking about it. Dawn's like, no, I'm not shocked at all. What do you know? Of course, Slade and Joe come down the stairs and they walk into the party and everyone's faces are like, hi, Lori! Joe says walking into this party was so awkward, knowing that everyone knew that they had just broken up and now they're together again. I could imagine that's pretty awkward, but everyone's trying to be friendly. Joe sits down with Lori and Vicky, and she's explaining, like, yes, we're together, we came together, but the engagement is not back on. They're kind of just back in the dating phase, which I think is actually probably best for them. Kimberly's in the corner talking to Slade, and she says, you guys should really try couples counseling. And Slade makes this weird comment. He goes, yeah, we call it couples therapy. And she's like, okay. And she's like, well, you should go. And he's like, we've already had that conversation. And it's like, oh my God, fucking relax, bro. And you guys, that's really how it ends. So then we have the little shots, little updates with each person. It starts off with Lori, and it says that Lori is doing great at work. Her sales are up 30% over the last year. So yay, Lori. Josh, unfortunately, violated his probation, and he was sent away to live with his grandparents in Idaho. Kimberly and her family, Kimberly has the quickest little sentence on her little shot. It just says, the Bryants are happy and healthy. And that's it. There's like no other update about them, which is really interesting. Gina's update says that she's still one of the highest realtors in Coto de Caza. Highest grossing realtors. Vicky's update starts with John, and it says, unfortunately, his job in Sacramento didn't work out, but he has a new one closer to home. Vicky's kids have left for college. She has not had a mental breakdown, their words, but she is ready for them to come home for summer. Joe's update says 2 weeks after the party that her and Slade attended together, they broke up again. Slade, of course, took back the Mercedes. Not saying he shouldn't, it's his car, but he took back the Mercedes and Joe has moved out. And only 6 weeks later, Slade started dating who? Can you guess? Lori. 6 weeks later, he started dating Lori, you guys. Okay, for those of you who are watching on YouTube right now, you'll be